Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I feel like we're singing together as a choir. I know that in all of our hearts, we believe that peace is possible, and we are here because of that commitment. So I want to say to you that in introduction of myself, that I am an ambassador for peace, and I'm part of the Peace Ambassadors of Oakland, and I was fortunate enough to get on the Shift Network Peace Ambassadors community, with that community. And one of the things that was really heartening for me is that whenever we're on a call, they can say good morning, good evening, good night, because there are people all over the world that are working for peace. So as a diversity worker and a religious science minister, I feel like I was been on the edge, in the front runner, as a front runner, but alone. And because I've been able to join the Shift Network and be a part of the Rebirthing 2012, I realized that there is a peace movement that is bigger than you can even imagine, bigger than I could even imagine, and that the work that I've been doing and praying for is actually coming to fruition. So I'm at the place now where I, in my own meditations, have been told to take my foot off of the old world. And for me, that means to stop the fighting and begin to look at what are the solutions that are working. And there are many of them. And so one of the things that gives me great comfort, and this is more about my work than my introduction of myself, is that I believe in the 100 monkey theory. You know that theory? So, you know, the monkeys were being studied, and a young monkey went and washed a sweet potato, and all over the region, monkeys started washing sweet potatoes. So the consciousness shifts. So I'm looking for that tipping point that's going to bring us into world peace in my time. And I think I found a couple of tipping points. But the thing about the 100 monkey theory that nobody talks about is that as that phenomenon happened, there were about 40% of the old monkeys that never washed sweet potatoes. So what we are dealing with, I believe, is that there are these old, somebody said it earlier, fogies, that are holding on to a war mindset, that are dealing with the thieves of the heart, and racism is right in there with that, and have been, and that we're suffering from the sins of our forefathers. So that it's very important for us to begin to shift our energy, to begin to look at what is really working and what can you really do. So, yes or no, are you here to suffer because other people are suffering and feel like a victim that you can't do anything? Yes or no? Yes or no? All right. Are you here to pretend that racism doesn't live anymore, that everything is okay because you have your little bit of life, and to forget that slavery has been abolished on paper, but the prison industrial complex is the extension of slavery? Are you here to further that? Are you here as a divine being that knows that you stand in a place of power? Yes or no? Are you here as a person who has a voice and a heart that wants and can live in congruency to tell the truth about what needs to be done? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. So we all have individual responsibilities, and one way to really begin to make some change so that what we see in the media, what is being pumped into us to keep us from understanding that each one of us is divine, that we're here for a purpose, and we have some power. What you have to do is turn the TV off. What you have to do is close your eyes and begin to listen to your ancestors. What you have to do is use forgiveness, compassion, and love. So my work is about healing racial wounds. And it starts in the individual heart, Then it moves to your relationships, then to your community, and then global, because what's in your heart impacts globally, and what's out there impacts you inside. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all today, and I always know that I'm passionate when I feel my heart beating. And so this conversation today has stirred my heart, and I'm grateful to the presenters who've really accented beliefs that I also hold very dear and strongly in my heart. So I'm here to talk to you today about the Talking Back to Hate campaign that URI has launched this year that I'm happy to be coordinating. And it's one response to looking at how to create not just peace, but a just peace. So looking at the issue of how to create societies and communities that are more safe and supportive and equitable and inclusive of all people and all beings in that community. And so the Talking Back to Hate campaign is the opportunity to take a stand when you see something happening in your community that doesn't feel right, when you see people being singled out for being different, being labeled, being excluded, and being bullied. So that's what the campaign is about, and the premise is really that just as violence begins with hate speech, peace and understanding begin with open and respectful dialogue. Margaret Wheatley says, "There's no more powerful way to initiate significant social change than to start a conversation." So that's really what we're about. We've put together a toolkit of ideas for ways people can take action and conversation starters to begin having that dialogue in your community and on your school campus. And we're really grateful to be joined by partners in this, such as Carry the Vision, such as the Interfaith Observer, the Chaplaincy Institute, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, the Jewish Community Relations Council, the Oakland Peace Center. So we're really grateful to be on board with all of these incredible peacemakers, both locally, but also nationally, internationally in this work. And I wanted to just tell you a story about putting the campaign into practice right here in Oakland, where I'm a restorative justice volunteer at Montera Middle School. And it's just been my joy and passion over the last year to be working there and to be working with these young people who are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who just have that fire in them and that bright light to be that change that they want to see on their campus and in their community. They are learning the tools for how to resolve conflicts and how to be peacemakers, how to be mediators among their peers and more broadly at the school. So while I was working there as a volunteer, I noticed that a lot of the students had been mentioning bullying as something that was happening on their campus. And I even saw posters that were up in the cafeteria saying no bullying. And so I wanted to initiate a talking circle with a group of students about how we can respond to bullying and what it's like to be bullied on the campus, to raise that issue and raise that conversation. So we used a circle process, which is actually something I'm going to be sharing about in the breakout group. So if you're interested in learning about circle process and restorative justice, I invite you to come, because the circle process is based on the work, it's ancient, actually. It's indigenous practices from around the world, but it's also been developed by peacemakers such as Kay Pranis. So in terms of the work that we did in this school, we just initiated the circle, and we took turns answering questions such as, how does it feel to be singled out for being different in a positive way, for being singled out positively for being different, and for being singled out negatively for being different? How does it feel? What would you do if a friend of yours was being singled out? What would it look like if this school was truly a safe space for all students to be who they are? And first, it was really sad to hear a lot of the experiences these young people are carrying for just being bullied, discriminated against for their religion, their ethnic background, their weight, for speaking a different language. And one young man talked about how he'd been called a terrorist on a number of occasions by his peers, and he's, 11 years old. So it's very saddening to hear that. But it's also very inspiring to hear what they have to say about how to be advocates for each other, how to be upstanders for one another. And they talked about ways they wanted to make a difference on their school campus as well. And I think I just want to conclude by saying that the theme of this year's UN International Day of Peace is Education for Peace. And UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon writes, "Education has to cultivate mutual respect for others and the world in which we live and help people forge more just, inclusive, and peaceful societies." So I think education is a huge key to building peace, and I look forward to talking with you and sharing ideas further. Thank you.